30 million.
It's a number that just, it stops you in your tracks.
It really does.
Huh.
30 million copies.
Oh.
That's the statistic just staring us right in the face on the cover of the book we're unpacking today.
Yeah.
And just to give that some scale for everyone listening, I mean, that is more than the entire population of Australia.
Wow.
It's significantly more than the population of Texas. If this book were a country, it would have a seat at the UN.
It puts it in a category of its own. It really does. It implies a level of reach that very few books ever achieve.
Right.
It suggests that the problem this book solves isn't just a niche business issue about like spreadsheets or management styles. It's a fundamental human issue.
Exactly. We are talking, of course, about the absolute juggernaut of the self-help world, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People by Stephen R. Covey.
Mm-hmm.
But, and this is a critical distinction for this deep dive, we aren't just dusting off the old dog-eared hardcover your dad had on his bookshelf in the 90s.
No, we're looking at something a bit more evolved.
We are looking at the infographics edition.
Which is a fascinating pivot, isn't it? You have a book that is historically known for being, quite dense, philosophical, text-heavy.
Oh, yeah?
And now it's reimagined through a visual lens.
And that is our mission for this deep dive.
Mm.
We have this stack of materials, the cover itself, which tells a story, and a collection of really high-powered, eclectic endorsements from the front matter. We want to figure out why this specific framework has remained so relevant for decades, and what this new visual approach tells us about how we learn today.
And ultimately, we're trying to get to the bottom of what Covey calls the character ethic.
Right.
Because looking at these sources, the promise here isn't just about getting more emails answered or being more productive just for the sake of it.
Right. It's about becoming a complete, fulfilling person.
Right.
Which, let's be honest, sounds a lot harder than just reaching inbox zero.
It is harder, but it's also infinitely more valuable.
So let's dive in. First things first, that cover. It's blue, it's classic, but right there in the middle, it says Infographics Edition.
Mm-hmm.
And down at the bottom, we see the publisher is Franklin Covey. Now, playing devil's advocate here, is slapping infographics on the cover just a marketing gimmick to sell the same book to millennials?
I don't think it's a gimmick at all. I think it's a recognition of cognitive load.
Okay.
Franklin Covey is acknowledging a reality about the modern learner. For the longest time, this material was consumed as heavy, thoughtful text. But the concepts Covey talks about, paradigms, interdependence, proactivity, they're abstract.
They can be a bit heady. I remember trying to read the original years ago and feeling like I needed a dictionary and a nap.
Exactly. By releasing an infographics edition, they are admitting that we have sort of evolved into visual learners. We're trying to process complex information quickly.
We want the aha moment.
We do, without necessarily wading through 300 pages of prose to find the nugget.
It's the shortcut. And you know I love a good shortcut.
Well, let's be careful with that word. It is a shortcut to understanding, but hopefully not a shortcut in application. That's the key distinction. You can look at a map of a mountain instantly. That's the infographic. But climbing the mountain still takes time. The infographic is the map, not the hike.
That's a fair distinction. But let's go back to that starburst again. Over 30 million sold.
When you see a number that big, does it make you skeptical? Like, is it just pop culture momentum at this point?
I think if you sell 30 million of anything, you have tapped into a universal vein. You aren't just talking to CEOs in corner offices. You're talking to students, parents, politicians, athletes. It means the pain point is universal.
The pain of being ineffective.
The pain of feeling out of control, of feeling like your life is happening to you rather than you driving it. That's a global feeling. And that universality is reflected perfectly in the endorsements we have in our source material. Usually, when you pick up a business book, who endorses it? Other business guys. Usually people in the same circle. Great for synergy, says the CEO of TechCorp.
Exactly. It's an echo chamber. But look at the list we have here on page 4. It's so eclectic. It covers almost every facet of society.
It really is. You got an NFL Hall of Famer, a singer-entertainer, a diplomat, a magazine founder.
And a sci-fi writer.
And even a sci-fi writer. Orson Scott Card is listed up there at the top as a Hugo and Nebula Award winner.
It just proves that effectiveness, at least how Covey defines it, transcends industry. A sci-fi writer needs it just as much as a quarterback.
Well, let's unpack one of my favorites from this list to understand why they need it. Roger Staubach.
The NFL Hall of Fame quarterback, a legend for the Dallas Cowboys.
Right. Now, when I see a quarterback endorsing a book, I expect him to talk about winning or grit or strategy. This book helped me crush the competition on the field.
Sure, the typical stuff.
But listen to how he describes this book. He calls it a 7-course meal.
I love that metaphor. It's so specific
Right.
and really elegant for a football player.
He says, Stephen Covey serves up a 7-course meal on how to take control of one's life. Why that imagery? Why not a playbook or a blueprint?
Well, think about what a 7-course meal implies. It implies distinct stages. It implies order.
Right.
You don't get the dessert before the appetizer. It implies a sequence that you have to respect.
And the 7 habits is definitely sequential, right?
Yeah.
You can't just pick habit 5 and ignore habit 1.
Precisely. And this is where the infographics aspect ties back in, because seeing that sequence visually helps you understand the meal. Covey structures the habit specifically. You start with the private work, the appetizer, and the soup, if you will, before you move to the public work. You have to master yourself before you can deal with others.
So Staubach is realizing you can't skip to the interdependence part, the main course, without eating your vegetables first.
Exactly. You can't lead a team if you can't lead yourself.
No.
Staubach goes on to say the book is satisfying and energetic.
Energetic is an interesting word for a book, don't you think?
It really is.
Usually, studying makes me tired. I don't finish a textbook and feel energetic.
It suggests that the process of reading and applying this gives you energy back. It's not draining work, it's fueling work. It clarifies things. Confusion is exhausting. Clarity is energizing.
That makes sense.
But the part of Staubach's quote that I think is most critical is the end. He says, it is a step-by-step book that is applicable for, and catch this, personal and business progress.
Personal and business. He's blurring the lines.
That is the crux of it. Staubach, a man who performed at the highest level of professional sports and then had a massive career in business, is identifying that you cannot bifurcate your life.
You can't split yourself in two.
No, you can't be a disaster at home and a consistent hero at work.
I feel like corporate America spent 50 years trying to tell us the opposite. Leave your personal life at the door.
And look where that got us. Burnout, high turnover, and shallow leadership. Covey's argument, which Staubach is highlighting, is that you have to be what he calls a complete, fulfilling person to truly succeed.
So it's not about work-life separation, it's work-life integration.
Exactly. Which feels like a perfect segue to the next endorsement, because this idea of who you are versus what you do seems to be the central tension here.
It is. It's the tension between the image and the reality.
Yeah.
We have a quote here from W. Clement Stone. He's the founder of Success Magazine. So this guy who literally made a living defining what success looks like for millions of people.
Right. And what does he say the book does?
He says, the conclusions he draws in this book underscore the need to restore the character ethic in our society.
Restore the character ethic. That is a powerful, heavy phrase.
It sounds a little old-fashioned, honestly. Character ethic. It sounds like something a Victorian schoolmaster would say.
Yeah.
What does he actually mean by that in a modern context?
It's crucial to understand what he's contrasting it with. Stone and Covey are contrasting the character ethic with the personality ethic.
Okay, break that down. What's the personality ethic?
The personality ethic is the surface level. It's the focus of most modern self-help. It's techniques. It's smile to get people to like you. It's mirror their body language to build rapport.
Dress for the job you want.
That's the one. It's basically fake it till you make it.
So it's treating human interaction like a mechanical system you can hack.
It's manipulation, really. It promises the quick fix. Read this article and become a CEO in 3 easy steps.
In the character ethic.
That's the deep work. That's the foundation. It's things like integrity, humility, fidelity, courage, patience. Stone says this book is a valuable addition because it ignores the quick fix and goes back to those roots.
So it's not about polishing the exterior, it's about fixing the foundation.
Exactly. And it's interesting, he uses the word restore, like we lost it somewhere.
Yeah.
I think Stone would argue that the 20th century became obsessed with the quick fix. We wanted the fruits of success, the money, the status, without taking care of the roots, the appearance of success without the substance of character.
There's another quote right above Stone's that backs this up. It's from Tom F. Crum.
Yes, Crum adds another layer to this.
He says Covey adds value not just through his words. He says his vision and integrity, his personal example, move people beyond mere success.
Beyond mere success. That is such a striking phrase.
It implies that success on its own isn't enough, which is a weird thing to hear in a business context. Usually, success is the goal.
Or it implies that success, as society often defines it, money, fame, status, is a low bar. Crumb is talking about significance, impact, and he notes that Covey's personal example is part of the package.
Which puts a lot of pressure on the author, doesn't it?
Yeah.
You can't just write the book, you have to live it.
And that's why the methodology works. It requires the user, you and me, to actually change, not just learn a new trick. You can't just use an active listening technique if you don't genuinely care what the other person is saying.
People smell that a mile away.
They do. We've all been in a meeting where someone is clearly using a tactic on us. It feels gross. That's the personality ethic failing.
So the character ethic says?
It says, if you want to be trusted, be trustworthy. It's harder, but it's real. And because it's real, it lasts.
But let's be real for a second. Being a person of character, doing all this deep work, that takes time. It sounds exhausting. And time is the one thing most of us feel like we don't have.
That is the modern dilemma. We want the depth, but we live in the shallows because we're busy.
Which brings us to Marie Osmond.
Yes! This is one of the most relatable endorsements in the stack, which is funny because she's a superstar.
Right. Marie Osmond, entertainer, massive star. But look at what she focuses on. Not fame, not hitting high notes. She talks about the chaos.
She lists the stressors explicitly.
She mentions responsibilities. She talks about the demands of time, travel, work, and families.
Plural, families. And work and travel.
It makes me tired just reading it. Placed upon us in today's competitive world.
It resonates, doesn't it? This is where you really connect. You might be listening to this thinking, I want to have a character ethic, sure, but I also just need to get my kids to soccer practice and finish this report.
Right. I'm drowning here, Stephen. I don't need philosophy. I need a life raft.
And what does Marie Osmond call the book?
She calls it a big plus. She says it's a big plus to have the 7 habits to refer to.
To refer to. That's the key phrase. She frames the book not just as a philosophy you read once, but as a tool, an anchor.
Like a reference guide, an operating system for your life.
Exactly. When the chaos gets to be too much, you have a framework to go back to. It organizes the chaos.
It's interesting because usually when we are stressed, we drop the deep stuff first. We go into survival mode.
We do. We become purely reactive. We handle whatever is screaming the loudest. Covey calls this being driven by the urgent rather than the important.
But she's saying that's exactly when you need this book the most.
Because the habits, things like put first things first or be proactive, are designed specifically to manage that complexity. If you are grounded in those habits, the demands of time and travel don't knock you over as easily.
You have a way to prioritize.
You have a criteria for saying no. It's the compass in the storm. If you don't have the compass, the storm decides where you go.
Okay, so let's recap where we are. We've got the 7-course meal from Stobach giving us the structure. We've got the character ethic from Stone giving us the foundation. We've got the anchor for the chaos from Marie Osmond. But how does this actually work mechanically? Like, what is happening inside our brains?
For that, we have to look at arguably the most intellectually dense quote on this page. It's from Gregory J. Newell.
The U.S. ambassador to Sweden.
A diplomat. Someone whose job relies entirely on words, intent, and trust.
His description is, well, it's intricate. He talks about the deliberate integration of life and principles.
Deliberate integration. Stop there for a second. It's not accidental. You have to choose to mesh your life with these principles. It's an active process.
It doesn't happen by osmosis.
Right. And then he says this leads to, and I think this is my favorite phrase in the whole text, squaring inner thought and outward behavior.
Squaring. Think about the geometry of that.
Yeah.
It implies precision. Carpenters square things up.
It means making them fit, making them equal. Alignment, perfect 90-degree angles, no gaps. It means that what is happening inside your head, your inner thought, matches exactly what the world sees, your outward behavior.
That is the definition of integrity, isn't it?
It is the absolute definition. Integrity, integer, whole, undivided.
It sounds simple, but squaring those two things is incredibly hard. I mean, how often do we think one thing and do another?
Constantly. It's the human condition. We think I should be patient, but we snap because we're tired. We think I value health, but we skip the gym.
There's a gap between the thought and the behavior.
And that gap creates friction. It creates internal stress. It consumes energy. When you are acting out of alignment with your values, you are leaking energy.
So Newell is saying that Covey's method forces that alignment. It closes the gap.
Yes. And look at the result he mentions. He says this results in personal as well as public integrity.
There's that link again, personal and public. Just like Staubach said, personal and business.
It's inescapable. Newell understands, probably better than most as an ambassador, that you cannot have public integrity if you don't have personal integrity.
The cracks will show.
Eventually, the building will fall down if the foundation isn't squared. The character ethic that Stone talked about is the mortar that holds that house together.
It's fascinating to see how all these endorsements, which look totally different at first, are actually telling the same story.
They are weaving a tapestry, really.
You've got Roger Staubach telling us it's a substantial process, a 7-course meal.
Not a snack.
Yeah.
Then you've got Stone and Crumb telling us it's about character, not just surface-level success. It's about who you are.
You've got Marie Osmond reminding us that this stuff actually works in the real messy world of families and travel.
It works when things are hard. And then you have Gregory Newell giving us the mechanism, squaring inner thought and outward behavior.
And even Orson Scott Card. I mean, here's a guy who writes about aliens and future wars, and even he is looking at this and saying, this is how humans work.
It just reinforces that 30 million number. It's not a fluke.
It really makes you look at that Infographics Edition label differently. It's not just pretty pictures. It's a map for a very difficult journey.
A map to a better version of ourselves. And honestly, looking at these endorsements, it makes me realize that the infographics might be more necessary now than ever.
How so?
Because the world Marie Osmond described, the competitive world, the travel, the demands, that has only gotten faster. Our attention spans have gotten shorter. The noise has gotten louder.
So we need the visual shorthand to cut through the noise.
We need to be able to look at a diagram of the circle of influence and instantly remember, okay, focus on what I can control, ignore what I can't. We need that visual anchor because the storm is stronger now.
That's a great point. The format isn't dumbing it down. The format is arming us for speed.
Exactly. It makes the wisdom accessible when we need it most.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, we want to leave you with a thought. We've talked a lot about that quote from Ambassador Newell, squaring inner thought and outward behavior.
That's a haunting phrase. In a good way, it sticks with you.
It does. So here is our challenge to you. Imagine for a second that we could print out a transcript of your inner thoughts from today. Every judgment, every intention, every impulse.
And then right next to it, we lay out a transcript of your outward behavior. What you actually said, what you actually did.
If we held those 2 pieces of paper up to the light, how well would they match up?
Would they be squared? Or would there be gaps? Would you recognize the person on the second page as the person on the first?
That gap. That's the work. That is the challenge of the character ethic.
And that is why this book is still selling millions of copies. Because closing that gap is the work of a lifetime.
Thanks for diving deep with us. We'll see you next time.